Bad Waldsee, Southern Germany, 1978. In a factory in the hills of Upper Swabia, engineers pressed 3 layers into a single wall. A hard aluminum outer skin, a thick core of closed-cell polyurethane foam, a rigid inner skin. All 3 bonded into a single piece under pressure, with no wooden studs and no metal framing anywhere inside it. They called it Puel, and it is still going into Heimer motorhomes today. That wall came out of an argument that started 21 years earlier in the same town. In 1957, a young man named Erwin Heimer built his first caravan alongside a man named Erich Bachem. Bachem was not a wagon builder. In the 1930s, he built a camping trailer out of plywood at a glider factory, and during the war, he served as technical director for an aircraft manufacturer. He knew something the caravan trade did not. An airplane skin has to hold its temperature at 30,000 feet with no furnace and no compressor, and weigh almost nothing while it does it. Bachem died in 1960. It took another 18 years for that idea to become a wall you could live behind. And when it did, they had built the last camper shape America would ever let across its border. Today, you cannot walk into a dealership in Phoenix or Tampa and buy a modern European motorhome. Not because it failed a crash test, not because it burned anyone. You cannot buy one because of a rule about the calendar, a sticker from a trade group, and a city ordinance about where a person is allowed to sleep. Stay with me, because by the end of this you will know which door is still open, and it is wider than you think. Start with the number that explains why this matters, because it is sitting in your driveway right now. Park an ordinary vehicle in direct sun on a warm day, and researchers have measured what happens inside. The cabin climbs roughly 19 degrees Fahrenheit above the outside air in the first 10 minutes. Within an hour, it is running about 40 degrees hotter than the street. 85 outside becomes 125 inside. That is not Death Valley. That is an ordinary July afternoon in a parking lot in Kansas. Every American RV design decision of the last 50 years is an answer to that number, and the answer the industry landed on was to bolt a machine to the roof, sell you a generator to feed it, and sell you a campsite with a pedestal to plug it into. 3 products, 3 revenue streams, 1 problem. The Germans drew a different shape. A European sandwich-built motorhome has no riveted aluminum siding. It has a seamless molded fiberglass shell with a strange stepped profile, where the roof sits slightly proud of the body, and a visible seam runs the length of the vehicle. There is a low vent line near the skirt, almost at the wheel arch, and a raised hatch at the highest point of the roof. And when you step through the door, the floor under your boots is not the floor of the vehicle. A sealed cavity runs underneath it, several inches deep, the whole length of the van. It looks like the builder made a mistake and covered it with a trim strip. Every one of those details is doing a job. The first job is the wall. Pull the interior panel off a typical American travel trailer and you find wooden studs, sometimes aluminum ones, holding thin Luan plywood, with fiberglass batting between them and siding stapled over the outside. Those studs run from the inside surface all the way to the outside surface. Wood conducts heat. Aluminum conducts heat spectacularly well. Every stud is a highway carrying August straight through your insulation and into your bedroom. Builders call it thermal bridging, and it is why your RV wall feels warm to the touch, even though the brochure bragged about the R value. You did not buy a bad wall. You bought a wall with holes drilled through it every 16 inches, and the holes are made of the frame. The German wall has no studs. The foam core is continuous corner to corner, and the 2 skins never touch. Heat arrives at the outside surface, finds no path across, and sits out there. The second job belongs to that odd seam and that low vent line. Underneath the outer skin, there is an air gap, open at the bottom and open at the top. Sunlight hits that outer surface, and it gets brutally hot, easily well over 140 degrees, on a dark roof in the desert. In an American rig, that heat radiates straight down into the ceiling cavity and into your face while you are trying to nap. In the vented design, the hot air in the gap rises, exits the top, and pulls cooler air in through the low vents behind it. The heat leaves before it reaches the inner shell. Same physics as the shade cloth a rancher throws over a stock trailer in Texas. Nobody calls that exotic. It just works. The third job is airflow, and people underestimate this one most. Because there is a low intake by the skirt and a high exhaust at the roof peak, the living space becomes a chimney. Warm air climbs to the top and leaves through the roof hatch, dragging fresh air in through the low vents on the shaded side as it goes. The van exhales all day without you touching a switch, and a small 12-volt fan pulling 2 or 3 amps multiplies that airflow for less power than a light bulb. The fourth job is the floor and the water. That sealed cavity under your feet, what German builders call the double floor, does 3 things at once. It stops road heat and winter cold coming up through the boards. It keeps the plumbing and tanks inside the insulated envelope, so nothing freezes in March. And it puts a large mass of water inside your thermal barrier. Water holds heat better than almost anything you can carry, so 100 liters of it under the floor is a battery for temperature. Open everything at night. Let cool air flush through and chill that mass. Close up at dawn, and the rig coasts through the afternoon on cool it collected while you slept. Broken thermal bridge, vented air gap, stack effect airflow, cold mass stored overnight. 4 mechanisms, all running on the shape of the vehicle and the ordinary swing between day and night. $0 a month. Forever. If you are getting something out of this, hit subscribe. I take one of these apart every week. Now put the machine on the roof, on the scale, because it has a number too. A standard rooftop RV air conditioner is around 13,500 BTU. Running, it pulls well over 1,000 watts, and the startup surge is several times that, which is why so many people find out their inverter cannot handle it. In 1 hour, it eats roughly 1.5 kilowatt hours. A serious lithium bank, the kind that costs more than a decent used car, holds 7 or 8 kilowatt hours total. Do that division. About 5 hours of cooling, and then nothing left for the refrigerator, the lights, or the water pump. So you need shore power at rates that would have sounded like a hotel bill 20 years ago, or a generator. The machine is not a solution to the heat. It is a subscription to surviving it, and the bill arrives every month you use the rig. Now I am going to be straight with you about the limit of all this. This shape performs best in dry heat, where the night actually cools off. In coastal Florida in August, when it is 82 degrees at 3 in the morning, there is no cool night air to collect, so the night flush weakens, and the mass has nothing cold to store. I am not going to pretend that away. But the broken thermal bridge does not care about humidity, and neither does the vented roof gap. When the walls are not leaking heat through studs, and the roof is not radiating into your ceiling, whatever cooling you run works a fraction as hard, cycles a fraction as often, and can be a fraction of the size. Dry country gets the miracle. Wet country gets the discount. Nobody gets nothing. So the real question is not whether this works. It is whether it works where you park. If you winter in Quartzsite or Yuma or anywhere across the dry Southwest, this is your jackpot. Blistering days, nights that drop hard into the 50s, and that drop is the fuel for the whole system. On a bonded shell in that air, the machine on the roof is close to decoration. If you travel the Pacific Northwest, think back to June of 2021, the heat dome. Just north in British Columbia, a town recorded over 120 Fahrenheit, and then the town burned to the ground. Hundreds died across that region, and the people who died were overwhelmingly older, in buildings with no cooling, in a part of the world where nobody thought they would ever need it. A rig that holds its own temperature in an event like that is not a comfort feature. Past a certain age, it is a safety margin. If you run the Gulf Coast in August, you are the hard case. But shade the glass from the outside, cross-ventilate through opposite windows, run the fan, and lean on the wall that has no studs in it. You will not delete the machine down there. You will run a smaller one, a fraction as often, off a battery bank that cost half of what you were quoted. And in the shoulder seasons, through the hill country or the high desert of Colorado, the same wall that keeps August out keeps January in. One wall, both directions, nothing to service. In a mild climate, the shell saves you money. In a climate that tries to kill you, it saves you money and keeps working on the morning the generator will not start. So why can you not buy one? 3 gates. The first gate is a calendar. Under federal import rules, a vehicle never certified to American safety standards cannot be legally imported and registered until it is 25 years old. And emissions rules add their own timeline on top. So a new Heimer sitting in a dealership in Munich is contraband at the port of Baltimore. A 1999 one is a legal import. That rule was written decades ago for cars, not to protect the RV industry. But look at who it protects anyway. The second gate is a sticker. American campgrounds, insurers, and lenders all lean on an industry certification seal. It is not federal law. It is a trade body standard, written by the industry for the industry. Without it, financing gets hard. Some insurers will not write a policy at all, and some parks will not admit the vehicle. A rig can be entirely legal and commercially locked out at the same time. The third gate is where you are allowed to exist. Hundreds of American cities make it illegal to sleep in a vehicle inside city limits, with fines and towing attached. And if you thought you would park on your own rural land and live in it, most counties cap RV occupancy on private property between 14 and 30 days. Not because it is unsafe, because a man living cheaply on land he already owns generates no mortgage, no utility account, and no property tax reassessment. And this is where it stops being funny. In February of 2019, Thor Industries, the largest RV manufacturer in America, completed its acquisition of the Erwin Heimer Group at an enterprise value announced at around 2.1 billion euros. The American giant now owns the German company that developed the sandwich shell, along with Berstner, Deathlefs, Leica, and the rest. The technology is not lost. It is not secret. It is not even foreign anymore. It is owned by the same corporate structure that sells you the stapled wooden box with the compressor bolted to the roof, and they have no reason to bring the good one to your market when the cheap one moves faster off the lot and comes back for service. Now, there is a piece of this I cannot put in a video. Everything so far has been about the vehicle. It is not about the 2 costs that decide whether a season on the road is affordable, which are where you sleep and what you pay to sit still. Which cities enforce overnight parking and which quietly do not. The mail and residency and insurance problem, which stops most people cold before they leave the driveway. And what a full-time month really costs, line by line, from someone who is not selling you a campground membership. I put all of it in writing instead, in something called the RV Savings Manual. It is free. The link is first in the description, and if you are watching on a television, the code on your screen goes to the same place. Read the parking chapter first, then come back, because the next part is how you actually get one of these. Because if the calendar and the sticker were the only problems, you might shrug them off and keep your current rig. But look at what the cheap build cost you over time. Water intrusion and delamination are the defining failure of the American RV. A seal fails where you cannot see it. Water gets into the wood swells and rots, and the siding ripples like a bed sheet. Owners describe 6-figure motorhomes turning soft inside a decade, and the day you try to sell, the buyer runs his palm along the side, feels the wave and walks. A bonded foam panel has no wood in it to rot. That is not a comfort feature. That is your resale value. And there is one objection you will hear the second you bring this up. These rigs are too small. On a fixed income, small is not the punishment. Small is what travels without towing a second vehicle, parks in an ordinary space, and gives you a volume a modest system can actually handle. The size is a feature you have been trained to read as a defect, mostly by people who make money on square footage. And here is the part nobody tells you about that 25-year rule, which is the best news in this video. It is not a wall, it is a rolling window. Every January, another model year crosses the line and becomes legal to import and register. The Heimers rolling out of Bad Waldsee in the late 1990s are eligible right now, today, with paperwork you can actually file. The ones from 2000 and 2001 come up next. The door opens one more year, every single year, and almost nobody is standing at it. And a small bench of American builders now makes composite panel conversions with no wood framing at all on Sprinter and Transit and ProMaster chassis, because a generation of owners got tired of finding sponge behind the wallpaper. They do not have the big booths at the shows. You have to go looking, but there are more of them every year. So here is how you actually get one, in 3 steps. Step 1 is the calendar door. Vehicles past that 25-year threshold can be imported and registered, and there are 90s German and Italian campers already running on American roads. Look for the bonded shell, the double floor, and the vent lines near the skirt. Parts and service will be a hunt, so price that in before you fall in love with a photograph. Step 2, if importing is not for you, is to buy the construction instead of the badge. Ask a builder one question. Ask what is inside the wall between the 2 skins and whether anything crosses from the inside surface to the outside. If the answer includes wooden furring strips, keep walking. Step 3 is retrofit, and this is where most people watching will land, because you already own a rig and you are not selling it. Add a shaded, vented gap over the roof instead of letting sun hit the shell directly. Insulate the floor cavity. Cover the glass from the outside. Add a low intake vent and a proper high exhaust roof fan, and turn your rig into a chimney. Then photograph everything you do, because whoever values that rig later has nothing to compare it to unless you hand them the file. Now 3 things nobody mentions until you are standing in the vehicle with a drill in your hand. Number 1, condensation will destroy you faster than heat ever will. 2 adults breathing overnight put a lot of water into the air, and if it reaches cold metal behind your insulation, it condenses and sits there in the dark. Closed-cell foam bonded tight to the skin is the answer. Fluffy batting against bare steel is how you grow mold inside your walls in one winter. Number 2, your windows are the hole in the boat, so shade the glass from the outside first, because once the sun is through it, the heat is already inside. And if you build a second roof, do not seal the edges neatly, because it looks better. Air has to get in low and out high, or you have built an oven with a lid on it. Number 3, in a multi-day heat event with warm nights, this carries a large share of the load, but it may not carry all of it. What it does every single day is decide how hard your backup has to work, how often it cycles, and how much battery and solar you have to buy in the first place. Sometimes you are not deleting the machine. You are shrinking it to a fraction and running it 1/10 as often. That is still an enormous permanent cut, and I would rather tell you that than sell you a fantasy that collapses on your first August. So picture it. 4 in the afternoon, late August, somewhere with no hookups and no shade you did not bring with you. Every rig on that stretch is running its rooftop unit flat out, generators hammering across the row. The man 2 spaces over is at his fuel cans doing the same math he did yesterday. In yours, the roof hatch is open, The low vents are pulling, and the air moving past you is the air you collected at 4 this morning and locked under the floor. The compressor has not run today. It may not run tomorrow. Nothing you are doing right now is costing you anything. That is what it looks like when the vehicle does the work instead of your wallet. Boehm never lived to see that wall get built. The idea outlived him by 18 years, went into hundreds of thousands of vehicles across Europe, and is now owned on paper by an American corporation that will not sell it to you. The shape was never dangerous, and it was never unsafe. It just did not fit a business model built on selling you the machine, the fuel for it, the site to plug it into, and the whole vehicle again, when the wooden walls turned to sponge. The physics never stopped working. The rule book just stopped letting it in. And the rule book is on a timer now, one model year at a time. The parking, the legal gray areas, the address problem, and the real monthly cost breakdown are all in the RV Savings Manual. It is free, the link is first in the description, and the code is on your screen. And do me one favor in the comments. Tell me what your last campground night cost you, or what your last RV repair bill came to. Give me the actual number. The numbers people leave under these videos say more than I ever could. If this was useful, subscribe, and YouTube has another one waiting on your screen right now.